Would you spend almost 30 days feeding berries to Pokemon in a gym? Well, this Reddit user did and talked about why everyone should be doing this. And there are so many comments on this post with so many people either loving or hating this strategy, so let's talk about it today. Let me give you a little bit of background first. If you didn't know, whenever you place a Pokemon in a gym, you have an option to feed it 10 berries. There's like a time limit to how many times you can do this in a day, but you can do 10 berries at a time and you can do all the 6 Pokemon that you can. And when you feed a Pokemon in a gym a berry, you get 30 Stardust. Just 30, it's not a ton, but it does add up over time. So this Reddit post really caught my eye because it said never delete berries, which I think a lot of people do just end up deleting. And I'm sort of like halfway there, halfway not there and deleting berries. I'll explain why a little bit later. But they ended up looking at their Berry Master Platinum badge. This is a badge you have to feed 15,000 berries to Pokemon in gyms. It is a grind of a platinum badge. So they fed about 61,000 berries in a gym times 30, and it's about 1.8 million Stardust that they got. So they go on to explain how you can just get so much Stardust for feeding berries to Pokemon in gyms. It's quite easy, to be honest with you. You can just passively do it, but the comment section is incredible. Now, I really appreciate the Pokemon GO and like Silph Road Reddits because people do a ton of research whenever they comment. So this one user ends up saying that they just checked the animation speed of feeding 10 berries to a gym and it took about 17 seconds. So we're just going to trust this user and say it's about 17 seconds. So they did the math and they calculated it was about 28.8 hours of clicking. Which is a lot, I'm not gonna lie. I think that's really funny though that people just do so much math to kind of prove this point. They're like, this is essentially a waste of time, is like what they're saying. And within this comment, there are comments within comments, and some people's like, it's so mind-numbingly boring that they're never gonna get this platinum badge. And some people then are commenting, just do it while you're watching TV, or if you have a boring work meeting, just do it then, which be careful if you do that, but not a bad option as well. And then one of my favorite comments in this section is, I used to play RuneScape. 29 hours of tapping is nothing. I cracked up when I read this because it's really not that bad, to be honest with you. And I just think that's really funny that someone out here is like, this is nothing. 29 hours, not a big deal at all. So a lot of people are just giving this advice of not deleting berries and feeding it to Pokemon in gyms as a waste of time. You have people who are like, this is just such a waste of time. I would rather do anything else. It's not enough Stardust for the amount of time. And then you have other people who are like, it's a good way to just like kill some time. It doesn't actually really take too much time and you can just kind of mindlessly do it. So you definitely have like the pros and cons of the time side, but it seems like more people are like annoyed with how much time it takes and the little value you get out of this. Then you have a lot of people who are talking about the candy benefit feeding Pokemon berries in gyms. So you have a rare chance that you can get candy for these Pokemon. It is very rare. I do not know the rate. If you know the rate, let me know in the comments. So some of the comments just kind of talked about that they always like put Larvestas in a gym and ended up getting over 300 candies this way. If you are dedicated to like a certain Pokemon, especially if you're free to play, this isn't like the worst strategy. Now this seems a little bit much, but I guess if you're knocking down that platinum badge and you need like Larvesta candy, for example, I guess go ahead and do it. Other people even said doing it for Snom. So some of the new debuts, it's not that bad if you want to do it for Snom, if you need like Toxel candy, just kind of some of those Pokemon that are hard to get candy for. It's not the worst strategy, but I definitely don't think I would use it for the candy, but you do have a couple comments talking about like, this is a really good strategy for candy. And then another part of the conversation is just like how little Stardust you're actually getting. For the amount of time it takes, 1.8 million Stardust really isn't that much. You can get that much faster in PvP or even like catching Pokemon. But for something so passive, it's really not like the worst strategy. But I thought this comment was kind of funny that saying, wow, if I spend 2 years dumping berries into gyms, I can get almost 2 special unregistered trades. So if you think of it that way, it's not a ton of Stardust. You can easily send that on to unregistered trades, but at the end of the day, it's still free Stardust. I'm not going to complain about that because Stardust is so hard to get. So any way you can get it does add up. Then there are people who are apparently like pro Berry Master Badge people, right? Like they are like almost clowning this original poster for how little he's done. They're like 61,000, that's nothing. How about 400,000? How about almost 1 million? Like it is insane the people who now are going and like that's nothing. Like, this is something. And I think this is a platinum badge that you should show off. But then it's like within this first person is like, I don't know, like 200,000 berries fed. Then you have someone's like 300,000, 400,000, 500, 600. It just keeps going and like keep one-upping each person, or like they're congratulating each other. And I just think that's really fun. And that's kind of like the point of this game, is like you can play however you want, because there are apparently people who absolutely love feeding berries to Pokemon in gyms. So I wanted to look at my platinum badge for this. This was definitely one that we didn't focus on right away, but we did decide to just knock it down because it is kind of easy. It's kind of a mindless thing to do. Now, we try to do it in like a few days. I do not recommend doing that. That is a grind. But I'm at 53,411. That's not too bad. Less than the original poster, significantly less than those people who have almost like 500,000. That is incredible. But it is, sometimes it's worth it. Like after a big event, when I end up getting like 50 of each like berry, for example, I'll just go to the gym that we have and I'll just like put it in there. If I only have a couple berries, it's not really worth doing one or two. It's only when I have like a lot of berries that I can either do this one full sweep at a gym or maybe like 3 full sweeps of a gym. Other than that, I don't really find it worth it. Like I have 15, 9, and 14 of each berry. I'm not going to go and drop those off. It's not enough. But if I start getting like 30, 40, 50, especially like after a comm day when I'm like always spinning gyms, like that's when it's worth it. Right now, not so much. Then you have a whole nother section of the comments of people asking, why are you doing this by 30? And there are a lot of people apparently who do not know that you can get Stardust from feeding berries to Pokemon in gyms. So that's basically the rule, is like you get 30 Stardust per berry for a Pokemon in a gym. So it is a way to get Stardust. So if you didn't know that, hopefully this video has helped you realize that. So if you do need some Stardust, it's not the worst thing to do either. And I think the people who are confused by this, one thing that I always find interesting is how much is hidden with Pokemon Go, that we just like don't know these tips or tricks, and we rely on videos like this, on other videos, on just word of mouth, on Reddit, and not everyone is consuming all of this content. They might be a little bit more passive of a player and they might not understand that. They might think, oh, I'm feeding my berries in a gym to Pokemon in a gym because I want to like raise the health up for some reason. That doesn't really matter. I wouldn't really do that for that reason. So it is kind of interesting to see that people don't even know. They don't even know that you could farm candy. Like I'm saying, 300 Larvesta candy, that is pretty impressive from that one user. So there's so many uses and these like little things that we can do that just add up over time. And while it might seem like a waste of time, really it's not the biggest waste of time, especially if you're going out. Let's say you're going out, you knock out a gym with your friends, just like quickly, feed it some and then just move on with your day. Like you don't have to do this all the time. You don't have to be sitting there all the time at work just doing this, because there is a timeout period. I don't exactly know it. I feel like you do like 10 Pokemon and then I feel like you have to wait like 10 minutes or 20, 30, something like that, and just keep doing it. So there's a cooldown period. You can't constantly feed berries to Pokemon in gyms all the time. And along with like the gym structure, I feel like there's so many things people don't realize about gyms, where whether it's like you can get your 50 coins. I feel like obviously a lot of people know that, but there are still people who don't know that. So you can get 50 coins a day if your Pokemon gets knocked out after like 8 hours and 10 minutes, something like that. I don't have the exact numbers. It's like over 8 hours. But so many people just don't know that. They don't know the Stardust, the candy. They just think, oh, gyms are just there. You take it over, you get control, and then like you do raids, like without realizing there's this whole other level of strategy that involves gyms and placing Pokemon in gyms and putting even themes in gyms. Now there's no like real benefit to themes other than that it's fun. It's something that we like to do, drop your shinies. But yeah, it's just kind of like, and there's even the badge to help you with hours. So dropping Pokemon in gyms will help you get those platinum badges. And I feel like platinum badges is a huge discussion that we're seeing in the community with the level 80, and you need 50 platinum badges. I'm not going to call names, but I do believe that there is a prominent YouTuber who doesn't even have all of their 50 platinum badges. So that is, like I said, a huge discussion in the community as to what badges to work on. And I think anything that involves a gym is one that you should try to get, especially if you have one that you have access to. If it's a little bit rural, you could work with your friends if they're different teams to knock each other out, things like that. There are ways to get the hours, to get your coins, to get the berries, to get Berry Master, all of those things done if you like have a little community and you all have like these agreements, for example. Like when we used to live in Denver, I would go to the office and there was like one gym right at the office, and it was so cool because most of the time in the mornings you would knock one of the teams out, you would get the whole work day, and then the different team would get it that evening, and you just kept rotating and rotating, and it was like really nice that we all could get like our 50 coins, we would get the hours that we need, things like that. So like I said, you could find ways to do that. Even it was like an unspoken rule. Like we had never communicated. I didn't know who played in the office, but we ended up doing this like kind of naturally, and that was like kind of a cool thing. So you don't even know, this could be something that you could do without even like discussing with other people. I want to continue this conversation though, so I want to hear from you guys. What do you think about the Berry Master badge? What do you think about the strategy of feeding berries to Pokemon and gyms just to get Stardust? A way to farm candy? Do you agree it's a waste of time? Do you agree that it's not a waste of time? Are you someone who can flex and say they have 400,000 berries fed in gyms? I'd love to know from all of you guys, because I feel like there's definitely like a mixed variety of opinions and discussions that we could have. So drop them in the comments and I'll see you guys in the next video.
We want to give a huge thank you to our incredible Patreon supporters. Your support means everything to us and helps make content like this possible.
You're helping us take things to the next level. We couldn't do this without you.